Now that summer is coming around, it is time to go on an adventure. You can go skydiving, you can go on a long bike ride, you can go explore Tijuana, but just don't get abducted by a drug lord and go on an extra long adventure. Instead, you should go sailing. I will going to give you a basic understanding on how sailing works. Sailboats started with a square sail, as seen here, with like a pirate boat. Basically, they are pushed downwind just from directly behind them, and they're pushed to where they want to go. A major evolution was the invention of the triangle sails. The sails allow the boat to be pulled forward. So if it can't go directly into the wind, but it could go parallel or a 45-degree angle to the wind. So if it wants to go upwind, it goes in a zigzag pattern called tacking. So basically, it is done by it's like similar to an airplane wing. An airplane wing has low pressure on the bottom because the molecules are moving slower, and on the top they're moving they're moving faster, so it's lifting up. Same with the sail. It's moving slower on the back, faster on the bottom, so it's pushing the boat forward. So that is how it allows you to do the zigzag pattern. When you learn to sail, you start on a small boat, about this size. There's just usually one or two sails, has a rudder, and it's pretty easy to maneuver because it is so small. There is no motor on it, so if you need to move around, you have to, and if there's no wind, you have to use an oar. Now this brings me to my personal story of when I learned to sail. My first sailing experience solo was on this boat about the size of a bathtub. Well, this is the first time I've ever sailed before, so I had to drag it into the ocean, well, Newport Harbor, and basically install the sail and install the rudder. So once I figured that out, I was like just going to go out and mess around. So I was getting up to a pretty good speed until I decided to get a little adventurous. I decided to go out into the ocean. Well, I didn't make it all the way out into the ocean. This is Newport Harbor, and I'm making my way down here zigzagging because the wind is going this way. Well, I get to about here, and my rudder falls off. As you know, you can't steer without the rudder. So I have to get out my oar, let my sails down, and get around and start paddling back to pick up my rudder. Well, before I get there, a big, huge yacht comes and runs over my rudder, and I never see it again. So I end up having to paddle all the way back here with my sails flapping, and it's very embarrassing. Well, now that you graduate from the little boats, you could move on to a bigger boat, which you can't operate on your own. Bigger boat can go faster, and because of the increased size, such as seen here, it is hard to operate on your own. So you have like crewmen, and it moves faster. When the sailboat gets up to speed, it is at a tilting pattern. This is because the wind is pushing it from the top. You have a keel under the boat, which counteracts the weight of the sail and allows you to not tip over. In the smaller boats, as the one I showed before, there's no keel, it's just a flat board. So those are actually possible to flip over. So this one, because it has the weight on the bottom, as long as that doesn't break, you will not flip over. So don't be surprised if you're like at this angle, it's not going to flip over at all. That's basically the basics of a sailboat. If you're interested in learning how to sail, you can go through the OCC sailing program. It's $145. You get like 16 hours of classroom time and about another 16 hours of sailing time. So it's actually cheaper to do that than to rent a sailboat. And it's a great experience to do that with your friends. Go have fun.
There's 2 minutes left.
Yeah, you have like maybe have like 2 minutes. Maybe I have to do for because it's 5.
I thought we started at 7.
Yeah, you start at 7 and it's countdown.
Oh, the was only 5.
Right. So they don't see anything for the first 2 minutes.
Okay.
Were you counting up?
So I was coming back. I started, like after a minute I put it up, or I put up to 5. So that way it would end up 6 minutes.
That doesn't matter. It's fine. Just on this one, it wasn't a big deal. All right, Adam, I like the reference to the summer at the beginning as an attention device. You've got a pretty clear thesis statement. There's not really a preview of what the content is going to be, so you need to set up the structure more for us. I like some of the things that you explained. They do go by pretty quickly. I like the story that you told. I think that makes the speech a lot more interesting. Your presentation issues, sometimes you are distracted by the visuals and you have to turn away from us a little more often than I think you'd probably like to. Your gestures are limited in part because you have the notes in your hands, but you do gesture occasionally up to the images that you're showing us. Your facial expressions, I think they're distributed pretty well. Your eye contact is also distributed pretty well. Maybe a few more visuals than probably needed. I did think, though, that a couple of things illustrated ideas nicely. Your voice, it's very effective. I think you've got a reasonable variety in the pitch, except right at the end when you're delivering your exit line, it needs to be a little bit more definitive because
I realize that.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're hanging out there. And it's not that you didn't have a good exit line. You did have a pretty good exit line, but it's just the delivery of it falls a little flat, and so as a consequence, it doesn't have quite the sales pitch that it ought to. Thank you.